The next fashion story we shall be talking about is what is going on at Versace. As I'm sure a lot of you know, things have been happening at Versace. There have been many things going on, the brand, and of course, with the biggest story being that Dario Vitale is succeeding Donatella Versace as the chief creative officer at Versace, which was insane news, to be fair. We kind of knew that was going to happen because we have seen, the conversation around the acquisition of Versace. And I guess the writing was on the wall that, considering there's an acquisition in place and being had, that there was going to be some executive movement, maybe someone stepping down, maybe people on the executive team leaving, or one executive team just taking over the existing one, and all those kind of things. It's going to be kind of weird. A non-Versace at Versace. We've never seen that before. I mean, we've only seen, Donatella and her brother at the brand. We haven't seen anyone else, to be fair. So yeah, I don't know what, a non-Gianni Versace or Donatella Versace actually looks like. But it's curious. It's new beginnings. It's a new realm for Versace. It should be interesting. And I mean, Miu Miu is a brand that has seen immense success. I mean, you look at like the Prada financial reports, for example, they obviously know what they're doing. I mentioned earlier, and I alluded to it earlier, that Prada Group was actually one of the few groups that weathered the storm during the luxury downturn. So even this is Prada's financial report for 2024. You can actually see all their profits are up, the revenue is up, and they have the specific stats for Miu Miu that I'm looking for right now. So here we have Miu Miu's remarkable organic growth. So it was up 93% year on year, and it was supported by all categories and regions, ending the year with an excellent Q4 plus 84% year on year. So strong Q4, strong year. That means that their revenue in 2024 was 93% higher. Then there was a 93% increase, when you compare it to their revenue in 2023, which is absolutely insane, which means that the people at Miu Miu obviously know what they're doing financially. They kind of have everything down. So if, Prada, which is, it's likely that they're taking over Versace, we might see even more resurgence with their company, with the Prada Group, but also at Versace, because Versace's revenues have gone down slightly, which might be why they're looking for investors and to be taken over. But let's read and see what's going on. Donatella Versace will be chief brand ambassador after nearly 3 decades at the creative helm of the label, founded by her late brother, Gianni Versace. And for people that don't know about, Dario Vitale, he was Miu Miu's former design and image director. And, as the article says, he has now been appointed as the chief creative officer of Versace. So, moving on, it says the change comes as Miu Miu's owner Prada Group is reportedly inching closer to buying Versace from Capri Holdings in a $1.5 billion deal, which could see Vitale returning to the Prada fold. The American group, still reeling after an $8.5 billion deal to merge with Coach-owner Tapestry, was blocked by the US Federal Trade Commission last year, has been reevaluating its portfolio, which also includes Michael Kors and Jimmy Choo. That's a terrible portfolio, by the way. That's no man's land. Like, when you think of what Capri Holdings has, they are seriously in no man's land. It's also quite insane that, they blocked it. The craziest thing that actually stands out to me, more so than anything, and I wanted to create a conversation around it, is the fact that Prada might be buying Versace for $1.5 billion. That seems so strange to me, because I was like, $1.5 billion, that seems a bit low. So I was like, let me Google how much revenue Versace made in 2024. And apparently they made 1 billion in revenue. So if they made 1 billion in revenue, normally when they evaluate companies, it's normally like a 10x or at minimum like a 5x of their annual revenue is the value of the company. So how can a company 1 billion in revenue but be worth 1.5 billion? So I was like, that sounds a bit weird. There must be something going on behind the scenes that we don't know. Maybe they're making revenue, but their business model is all out of whack. They're making crazy losses. In that sense, it would make a lot more sense why they're worth that low. based on the revenue that they make, but that just seemed a bit strange. It's like, that's a crazy, crazy low figure for a brand as big as Versace. That was just weird. So that was something that stood out to me. And if Prada do end up buying Versace for $1.5 billion, they've literally hit the lotto. They've won the lottery, because that is seemingly an insanely cheap price for Versace, to be very honest with you. But reading on, let's see. Versace's brand has long been bigger than its business. Following its 2018 acquisition by Capri, the group aimed to grow the Italian label, known globally for its maximalist prints and Medusa logo, into a $2 billion brand, but sales have languished at little over $1 billion and contracted last year. Oh, so they even said it in this article that their sales are around $1 billion. So yeah, once again, like, how can a brand be worth 1.5 billion but they're making 1 billion in revenue? That is weird to me. That is just the strangest thing. I've never seen anything like that before, especially in fashion. Yeah, I really need to look into the net. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the information for the net, which is why I said the only, sensible reason why that could happen is if net wise they're making crazy losses, and maybe, yes, they're making all that revenue, but maybe their outgoings are like 2 billion or something insane. But yeah, we'll see. Because Prada, they know what they're doing business wise. I mean, they were the only group to weather the storm in the luxury downturn. So they can bring that understanding and that business acumen to Versace and help fix whatever issues they're having on a structural level, to be honest. So I never see anyone wearing Versace. True, but Versace makes a killing with like accessories and stuff like that, and like other product categories. Like Versace is known for doing all these crazy projects. Like you have like all these Versace hotels in Dubai and like Versace themed private jets that Versace gets paid a lot for, because for some reason people like those ghastly prints. And then loads of people buy like Versace bathrobes. That's like a really big product category for them. So in certain aspects, they do sell a lot. When I think of Versace, I think of like rich guy in Miami with no taste that wears the Versace prints shirts. Because also the thing that I used to love about Versace that isn't really Versace anymore is, apart from like Gianni Versace actually being like an exceptional designer, I think that Gianni Versace is actually really underrated from a design perspective. I think people just think of like Medusa logos and not the amazing dresses that he made. And this is true. Versace fragrances are very popular. I would have to check who owns the rights to Versace fragrances. Okay, Versace has a licensing agreement with Italia, a fragrance cosmetics company, for the production and distribution of Versace fragrances. Italia is a global player in the beauty industry, creating fragrances and cosmetic products for luxury fashion houses, including Versace. I mean, interesting. Either way, when the license happens, it's not like they don't still make money from it. Normally how the licenses work, I need to look deeper into that specific one, but normally how the licenses work is they get a percentage of profits from the companies that they license it to, which is why they're so lucrative, right? Because they don't have to build any of the infrastructure. They can just lean on the infrastructure of these like massive beauty companies and then just take a percentage of profits. And sometimes they don't even have to pay for marketing too. If that's smart, some of these licensing deals, they sign a deal where part of the profits of the business, the beauty business, is used towards marketing of the goods. So they almost don't have to pay for all the marketing also, which is really smart. It's like a no-brainer for most companies, to be fair. Unless you're like really, really big, like LVMH size, then you can like take care of it yourself. But if you're not that size, it makes sense to license your beauty products. People are just absolutely decimating straight men wearing Versace Eros. I like Versace Eros though. Versace Eros was one of the earlier fragrances I had, and I still have, maybe because it was one of those early fragrances I had, I still have like a nice, nostalgic feel when I think of Versace Eros. Not too much hate on Versace Eros, guys. Not too much. Not too much. A lot of people just don't care and are ignorant about things such as fabric and construction. Fair enough. It means I need to do my job better in, talking about fabric quality and just all these things. It's why we have these conversations on these streams, right? It's why it happens. But anyway, let me show you guys some of these Versace. Let me whip up Notino, my favorite fragrance shop, so to speak. Let's see, Versace. So you've got like Eros, which does absolute numbers for Versace. Someone mentioned Dylan Blue. Yeah, Dylan Blue does crazy numbers. Do you know, actually, before Versace Eros, a fragrance that I used to have, a really cheap fragrance. I think it smells horrible, Maybe it smells horrible to me now, but back then it was the shit. But now it smells absolutely atrocious. Yes, this. Oh my God, this smells so bad. Versace jeans. Oh my word, this smells so bad. So bad. This is probably one of the worst smelling fragrances I've ever smelled in my entire life. But when I was young, I had this and I thought I was the bee's knees. I thought I was that guy. I was like, you guys are wearing Axe, I'm wearing Versace jeans blue. It smells so it's like I smelled it recently and in my head I was like, did this actually smell this bad? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I used to love this fragrance when I was younger. That's crazy. This is honestly my top 5 worst smelling fragrances of all time. Genuinely. It's so bad. But funny enough, this fragrance sells like hotcake because it's so cheap and affordable, right? So a lot of people love this fragrance for that. But I just think it smells atrocious. I think it just smells so bad. But yeah, shout out to Versace. They might obviously launch more and more new fragrances, especially with Prada Group coming in. So that should be interesting. And I'll be looking forward to see kind of what they do in that sense. But also something that we should go is because BOF did also have some sensational coverage of the actual, Prada takeover of Versace that is still in the works, apparently. So they had 2 articles. The first one is Risky Business, should Prada buy Versace? Turning around the Italian icon will be a significant challenge for Prada Group and could distract top managers from scaling its core brands, but the gamble may be worth it if the price is right. Now, key on if the price is right, because as it stands, like I said earlier, $1.5 billion to me looks like an absolute bargain. On Tuesday, Prada reported its 2024 results with net revenues up 18% for the year, ended December 31, beating market expectations by 2%. Sales at Miu Miu, once seen as Prada's secondary little sister brand, soared by 83%, with more than 1.3 billion euros in net sales. The group also improved profitability, expanding its EBIT margin to 23.6%, in line with analyst forecasts. So here they're talking about obviously the strong performance, which we're kind of setting the scene. What I wanted to show you is this graph. I think this is amazing. BOF normally shows like these amazing graphs where you can really easily visualize how these things have been changing. Dog's bollocks, that's funny. You guys are slamming and spamming all the British terms in the chat. But yeah, you can see the growth of Prada, Miu Miu, and then the other parts of, Prada Group's business. So you can see that pale pink color is Prada. The more deeper rich pink is Miu Miu. And you can see how much bigger it is. Like compare the sheer size of Miu Miu in 2019 to 2024 and the sheer size of Prada from 2019 to 2024. They've gone insane, like absolutely insane. So they've been able to generate a lot of revenue. And of course, as they mentioned in this article, they can use that expertise to kind of, merge with Versace and use that understanding and that commercial knowledge to really bring some expertise to Versace and help them fix whatever issues they are having, because Versace is still a bit untapped. There's many things that they haven't done. Versace hasn't really hit the zeitgeist in a very long time. The way that, let's say, Demna's Balenciaga hit the zeitgeist or Alessandro Michele's Gucci hit the zeitgeist. Versace hasn't had one of those like cultural, takeover moments as a brand, like, Dior at Kim Jones. Like these are times when culturally those brands really had a lot to say and a lot of people are wearing those brands. I haven't seen that from Versace in a really long time. So there's a lot to be done there. There's a lot of untapped potential at the brand. It looks like Versace's cultural takeover happened 30 years ago. Yeah, which is why, of course, there's a lot of work to be done if and when Prada does take over. They're talking about the Capri deal, which we mentioned earlier. Then they mentioned with so much going right at Prada, why would the group want to add a troubled brand into the mix? For one, an acquisition could help to drive growth, adding about $1.1 billion in annual revenues to the Prada Group, providing further scale to compete with the big luxury groups. Versace's core maximalist aesthetic with its Medusa logo and iconic print is complementary to that of minimalist Prada and youthful Miu Miu, so the brands would not compete with each other, which is very true. They do sit in different markets. They have different customer bases. That's very, very true. So long as Prada doesn't make Versace another Prada, of course. Granted, that doesn't happen. But Prada has tried and failed to acquire and scale brands before. In 1999, the group went on a buying spree, buying buying controlling stakes in Gilsano and Helmut Lang, only to divest of these businesses later when they failed to scale. You guys will know about the whole, if you guys know about your fashion history, you guys would know all about when Prada Group took over Gilsano, because that's when Gilsano started leaving fashion and had a love-hate relationship with fashion. And that was also when TikTok Tick, Raf Simons, became involved, which is why him going back to Prada all those years later, people are talking about, oh, do you remember when, Raf Simons probably knows a lot of people at Prada Group because he was at Gilsano, during the Prada Group times. So, you guys that know about fashion history will know all about that, but I digress. These acquisitions turned out to be premature because Prada's own house wasn't in order. The thinking now is that the group has a more scalable infrastructure and platform upon which to scale other brands. It could lend its operational expertise in manufacturing, marketing, and retail to turn Versace around, just like it has done for Prada and Miu Miu, which is basically kind of what I was saying. So that's kind of the whole stick around the acquisition of Prada and kind of Donatella stepping down and new creative director and how things can be changed and revamped. There was another rumor that was seen online. BOF obviously covered it. Prada's CEO flies to New York as speculation swells over Versace bid. So at this point, it's like inevitable. It's like, this thing is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So we shall be watching closely. Wait, James says, Prada Group is the only group that's good in the fashion space. Can't trust Kering or the dread LVMH. I mean, in the defense of, in the defense of LVMH and Kering, not that, oh my God, defending like big conglomerates. Oh my God, what's happening to me? In their defense, they are way bigger than Prada Group, meaning it's a lot harder to scale when you're already big. It's easier to scale as a smaller company than it is as a big company, because once you've exhausted most of your customer base, it's harder to grow. But if there are, if there's untapped potential, it's easier to grow, right? So that's one thing I will say. Like if Prada Group was as big as LVMH, it would take even better business strategy to continue growing when you're already that big, to be honest. When you have that many customers already. So to try and grow past that is even more challenging. So yeah, that's one of the rare times I'll come to the defense of a massive conglomerate that has brands that exploit people, like Dior, for example. We've covered that. So yeah, I'll bet money that Versace does a quiet luxury collection. I hope not. It's just not in their purview. And like I've said this so many times, I'll say it again, is guys, I like when brands have different aesthetics. It makes fashion more fun. It makes fashion more interesting when every brand has their own unique USP. And as a customer, you can decide to go to which brand that you like based on the USP and the aesthetic that, they are going with at the time. If everything becomes homogenized, that's not fun. Wait, what's Luke saying in the chat? Aya says, but you guys know that fashion history, so that even if his audience doesn't, they are encouraged to seek out that knowledge for themselves and be confident in their fashion education. Brava. I mean, that's what the streams are for. We throw in these nuggets of fashion history within the news stories. But I'm sure most people know about the Raf Simons thing, to be fair. Like, did you guys know about that in the chat? Let me know if you guys knew. Let me see what you guys say. Let's see. Like, I'm sure most people know that when Raf Simons was at, Jill Sander, was owned by Prada Group. So he's already worked with the Prada Group before his current time. Oh, okay. Guys are saying no in the chat. Okay, my bad. My bad. I'll stop assuming knowledge. My bad, guys. My bad. Raf crying will always be on my mind. Tyson says, I knew Raf was at Jill Sander, but I didn't know about the Prada investment. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, culture knew. My bad, guys. I'll stop assuming knowledge. But at least now you guys know. Now you guys know. So yeah, that's the whole story around the Versace potential takeover and kind of why it's interesting. It's an interesting story in fashion, and also what could change fashion business wise, and even why it's potentially a good idea. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club, where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.